kids are very creative and curious. Creative little people. And that's exactly how they should be. Because that's their nature. And we need to allow them to express themselves in the best way they can and feel comfortable with, without pulling any barriers or intentions. This is what creativity looks like. Chaotic, busy, engaging, but most important, fun. Kids find ways of collaborating, engaging, despite age group or language. It's never a barrier for them. Are we born entrepreneurs? Or do we become? We're definitely not born entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs become by the incentives they're brought while being brought up by their teachers, by parents, by educators, by activities, incentives that they're involved with in their childhood and growing up into young human beings. Entrepreneurship teaches kids from very early age how to use hands-on activity, how to think outside the box, how to think different to someone else in their own classroom, how to be disruptive and innovative. Creativity is intelligence having fun. And we have and should allow kids, all ages, all background, to do exactly that and evolve their own little talent into something humanities. Entrepreneurship education also provides students with knowledge, skills, and motivation. It encourages entrepreneurial success in a variety of settings, which is something that we don't really get nowadays in everyday schooling. Schools are outdated. Yes, schools are necessary, but schools are not enough to prepare the next generation of innovators into our society. Think big. It's good that a young kid thinks big. Explain the challenges, the difficulties, the opportunities, and the responsibilities along the side. And teach them how to start small and grow big. There's many ways where entrepreneurship education helps young kids evolving, learning, becoming, based on their talents and wants, and not based on our own talents and wants as parents or educators, and enforcing our wants on them. They will never succeed. Meet a young entrepreneur, Panos, 12-year-old. At the age of 6, Panayotis already was showing signs of a young entrepreneur. We immediately started teaching him coding and programming. He was spending a lot of time online. Spending a lot of time online can be good and bad. Today's generation belongs to the millennium era, want it or not. By teaching kids proper use of the internet and influencing them, we can teach them and show them how on the internet and through the internet, because it's true, internet is a second classroom. They can spend quality time, learn, create, and innovate. Last year, he pitched at the first local hackathon. 11, by the way. His own idea of an online piggy bank where a parent could transfer in any currency his kid's pocket money. He rocked. Meet a second entrepreneur, 10-year-old George. He's got great communication skills, people's person. No matter what entrepreneurial journey you're running, whether it's a sport, whether you belong to a team, whether you're building a business, whether you're in a classroom, you need all team members to participate. You need the diversity of talents diversity of knowledge for the team to go ahead. We don't hear the word team often enough. We need to improvise, we need to support, we need to remind the word team and teamwork in our society more often. For us to teach our kids to work as team members and not individuals. No successful entrepreneur has ever succeeded alone. It's a proven fact. Start young. They're never too young to start. The younger they start, the better it is. By the age of 12, they think they know it all. It's much more difficult to convince them. Kids are thinkers, go-getters, risk-takers. They set no limits. They will shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, and aim for the stars. Because this is how they think. We are the ones who teach our kids and students barriers and to be afraid. They shouldn't be afraid of failing. Failing is the first attempt in learning. Failing is good. You need to fail to succeed. Every great entrepreneur has failed at least 2-3 times before succeeding. It's part of the game, it's part of the nature. Encourage your kids to do the best, your students to be the best they ever can. Set no limits. Let them show us, let them show you what they're capable of. Work on their talent. Support them on their talent. And that will evolve. That will grow. They will grow. Let me tell you one of the many projects we've run, one of the most impactful ones for us. Same way that we were all affected by the refugee crisis. 2 years ago, we were called out to go to Mytilene, a group of 30 entrepreneurs, local and international, to hack the refugee crisis. Now, people think when they hear the word hack, they think we're hacking something. To hack means to disrupt, to build, to resolve a problem. When landing on the island, arriving on the island, we very quickly understood that the biggest problems were immediate needs, from communication, to clothing, to housing, to comfort. We're also talking about people from different cultures, different language barriers. How do you deal with that? So we very quickly decided that our role there should be to help these people, help these families. We also understood a big challenge, a challenge around education. There was no structure yet being provided or offered, and a lot of these kids have never even been to school yet. They didn't know what school was. When going back to Athens, we decided we must do something about this. Let's be part of the solution and not the problem. Let's stop complaining. So after looking online and finding out about an Indian entrepreneur called Sugatra Mitra, who did a very similar project, what he did is he placed a computer in a local square in India where kids again didn't have access to school or education and left it there. He very quickly came to realize that kids became very curious and started investigating, started engaging each other, started learning on their own, teaching themselves, teaching each other. And this is exactly what we did at Sola. So the only rule at Sola is that there are no books, there are no teachers. There's teamwork, there's hands-on activity, there's people's net, and there's curiosity. I'll give you an example now of one of our best challenges throughout the program. So when you want to talk about evolution of revolution, you can't do it in a direct way. So one of our day's challenge was, why does the giraffe have such a long neck? So we separate kids in small groups, about 3-4 kids per laptop, because you want to make sure that everybody has a go and not one is hijacking the whole session. We also make sure that the group between them speak the same language. We're talking kids anywhere between the ages of 6 to 12. We realized that too, that by bringing kids together from different age groups, the younger kids were the more creative ones. The older ones were the most responsible ones. But the answer at the end, with a combination of both, was amazing. So we asked them, why does the giraffe have such a long neck? Teach me. I don't know. But I promise that if you teach me, I'll teach you too. So this is the deal here. So of course, all the kids thought that's a very easy answer. And everybody came up. So at the end of every session, we bring a chair up at the front of the room where each one presents individually. So they feel like the king of the jungle. So everybody went and said, you know, that's an easy one, Maria. The giraffe was after the fresh leaves on the tree. I'm like, okay. Until this 8-year-old came up and he says, you are all wrong. The giraffe has a long neck because the giraffe was unhappy on Earth and she wanted to go and live on the moon. So she was reaching out to go to reach the moon. But her friends knew she would be unhappy on the moon. So her friends were pulling her legs to keep her happy and keep her on Earth. And I'm like, I like you, Hassan. And this is what I mean with disrupt. There are no barriers. There are no limits. Another very cool session that we did was when we were talking about the Olympic Games to the group of kids. And we told them, who here would like to go to the birth of the Olympic Games? They were very excited. We started the session by showing a very cool video of the Olympic Games. They could immediately engage to it because they knew that they had a team of young refugees that were also representing the Olympic Games that year. So we told them, you know what, guys? Instead of a 3-hour session today, we're going to do a 1.5-hour session because we're going to take you to the birth of the Olympic Games. They were amazed. They didn't believe it. So we walked with a group of 50 kids, 5 volunteers, including myself, from central Athens to the Olympic Stadium. We got there to the ticket booth, and the lady asked us, how many are you? 50 kids and 5 adults. She gave us a prize. I'm like, no, you don't understand. 50 young refugee kids. She said, please, go on by. We gave the opportunity for these kids to have an experience that they wouldn't have had in a classroom. These kids weren't ready to go into the traditional educational classroom. You needed a different approach for them. And at the end, they walked up right to the top steps and presented in front of everybody. This is what I call about making an impact. Look how happy these kids are. Online learning, we need to teach kids how to learn, not what to learn. Here you can see a couple of books, starting from preschooler years, where young kids can be influenced, if you see they have the drive for it, in learning how, for instance here, how to set up a lemonade stand. Or even set up a small business where they're selling small badges of their own. And a couple more for grade schoolers, as well as for teen. Kids have no limits. They will go as far as we allow them to. And we need to allow them to. We need to see where the capacity is. We need to stop thinking that all kids are the same, or just following a curriculum because the system says so. We need to provide more than that. We need to understand where their talents are, where their wants are, where their needs are, and focus on that. Focus on building the next generation of innovators. A generation that won't wait to finish university, collect certifications, and wait to find their job, but create their next job. Entrepreneurs do that. Entrepreneurs have no rules. Entrepreneurs disrupt. Entrepreneurs see something different, and go for it. And no entrepreneur ever succeeds the first time. But it doesn't matter. One thing that the Greek culture has is great family bonds. That is a resource. Support them, encourage them, allow them to. It's good fun, and make sure they have as much fun as you do on the process. Let's build the next generation of young entrepreneurs and young innovators. Thank you.